Hello, this is Dennis Schultz. I am the Executive Director of the Blacks in Technology Foundation. Today I have with me, is it Thomas Michael or Michelle?
Thomas Michael.
Thomas Michael. Okay, so Thomas is the CEO and founder of Michael Management, which is an SAP training and learning platform. And we're partnered, Blacks in Technology and Michael Management to provide discounts for SAP training. And today we're going to learn all about what it takes to become a career practitioner in SAP. And hopefully Michael, or I'm going to keep doing that. Thomas is going to be able to tell us all about how much money you can make, how long it takes to train, and all that fun stuff. So without further ado, Thomas, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dennis. Thanks for having me. My first name is Thomas. Michael is my last name. So people make that mistake every day. I started in the SAP world about 25 years or so ago. And ultimately, after a while, started my own company, which is called the Michael Management Corporation. We used to be a boutique consulting company, but over the years, we morphed the business into what's now the second largest SAP training provider after SAP itself. So we have a lot of experience in the SAP training world and the SAP consulting world. And we're glad that we got connected with you, Dennis. So hopefully we can answer some questions and help people get started if they want to.
All right. So let's dive in. I guess the first question I have is, tell me about SAP and why SAP is important to large organizations.
Right. So that's always the biggest question. What is SAP? SAP is the actual company. It's not the product, but people always refer to it as the product. But the company is called SAP. It's the largest or second largest business software company in the world that nobody's ever really heard of. But it's a ginormous company. And 90% of the large companies around the world use SAP software in their business. So 90%, I mean, de facto everybody. If you think of any large company, 9 out of 10 times they use SAP software to run their business.
Now, as far as career opportunities and the kind of the crux of our conversation, and a lot of questions are going to be around, those career considerations. What type of careers kind of can be born from learning or specializing in SAP?
Yeah, there's a multitude of jobs that would work with SAP software. So it's really, really broad, but in general terms, you're either on the functional side or you're on the technical side. Functional side, meaning you use the software as its function was designed. So the accounting system was designed to do accounting work. So that's a functional task. Or you end up on the technical side, which is very much on the IT side, the programming side, server maintenance, that type of thing. In either one of these paths, there's a bunch of different job roles, from end user, super user, to IT or support analyst, all the way to consulting jobs all over the world. But that's in general terms.
Sure. And as far as the open jobs and careers opportunities, I was doing some search, and it looks like there's a lot of open roles for various SAP specialists. And you mentioned that SAP is the company, but the software, package that they offer, are different products. So is there, one product that's just like the one product package that everybody should know and use, or are they varied? Is it like Microsoft where you have, your Office products and you have your cloud products, or, how is SAP structured from that respect?
Yes, so SAP also, like Microsoft, has a bunch of different products. Microsoft has Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all this, and SAP has that too. However, that said, they're one big flagship product is their ERP system, their enterprise resource planning system. That's typically what people refer to when they say, I work with SAP. Mostly it's the ERP system.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you to define ERP for our folks.
Yeah, exactly. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, and it describes a software system that can handle any of the enterprise resources it needs. So accounting system, for example, internal controlling, warehouse management, inventory management, supply chain, purchasing, all of these different functions in the enterprise are covered by that one software system. So it's fairly rare. There's not a lot of companies that provide something like this. It's a very complex and complicated system.
Yeah, and SAP software, ERP software specifically, has been around, forever. It seems. well. I guess post mainframe, I should say. But you tell me, are there companies that are moving away from SAP? Are there alternatives, or is this just something that is going to be ubiquitous within Fortune companies, in perpetuity?
Yeah. So when I started in this business 25 years ago, we always ask ourselves, how long will this business last? And I wonder if they're going to be around in 3 years. And ever since, it's been growing at a very accelerated rate. I put some slides together a few years ago about a session like this, and I just looked at the slides, and it said something like that 80% of all global 2000 companies run SAP. Now it's 90% already. So it keeps growing. And SAP is involved in so many business processes. It's not just the back-end ERP system, but they have a lot of cloud offerings. So 70% of the time when you buy something online, it probably ran through an SAP system.
So do you need to have a background in operations or finance or supply chain in order to move or leverage yourself into a career, in SAP software?
Yeah, in general terms, I would say yes, you should have some sort of related degree or background. Could be on the accounting side, it could be on the logistics or supply chain side, or it could even be on the IT side. But those would be the typical 3 areas that I would see people join SAP.
Okay. And for the training programs that you offer, do folks need to be particularly technical, or I guess, what would be the ideal candidate or typical person who would take your training programs, and what type of certifications would they see at the end of it?
Yeah, that's people always ask, oh, I'm not very technical. Can I still work with SAP? And that's a really good question. The answer is yes. So there is a very technical aspect in SAP that's covered by system administrators and programmers and database admins and all that. But there's a whole bigger group of functional professionals. So your accountants and your buyers and your warehouse managers, they don't do anything technical. They just use the system for their particular job role.
So as far as salary, let's talk about how much money we can make. So I know that just in my quick search, salaries for these specialists range from the low 6 figures to the high 6 figures, but I didn't see anything that was below $100,000 in annual salary. Is that typical, or was I looking in the wrong place?
And I always have to say, so everything that I say now has this little asterisk next to it, right? There's no guarantee that you will make that, right? Because we literally had the salary information on our website once, and after a while, this person came to us and says, hey, it says that I should be making, $125,000, and I'm not, and so he complained to us. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. But yeah, so to answer the question, the salaries are very good. yeah, salaries in the IT industry in general are pretty good. SAP salaries have been even more on the elevated side of things. It's a good skill to have. It's highly in demand. SAP right now is between a release change from one big major release that's out there now. Over the next few years, everybody's going to switch over to this new release. So there's a lot of SAP expertise in demand right now.
Okay. And as far as the percentage of folks who complete your program and actually get a job, do you have metrics around that?
Only anecdotal. When people send us an email and say, "Hey, thank you, and I got a job because I took the course here." But in general, people don't report back to us when their lives change. So we don't have empirical data there. But we have over 300 corporate customers who use our training to train their people on SAP. So we feel pretty good about that.
That is a very good statistic to tout. And from those organizations, are they just training to build their bench? Are you training internal employees to upskill, or are they looking for folks to bring on board, kind of building bench from outside the organization?
Could be either or. Typical is once a company goes live with their SAP system or their SAP implementation, the consultants will have left by then. The project is over, and this is the first time when a company is on their own. And that's when people realize, oh, we still need a lot more training. So that's typically when we come in, and we will be that company's training partner for years, because training never really ends. SAP constantly changes. They constantly bring out a new release. The company might decide to upgrade. So there's always something new to learn about SAP. And just to give you an idea, I've been in this business for over 25 years. I know this tiny little sliver of the system, and the rest I don't. So it's a very, very vast system to master.
Yeah, and to implement. I was on the implementation
Yep.
side, and SAP implementations go on for sometimes years. So yeah. Anne Claire has a question I'll ask is before folks getting into tech, entry level, do they need any prerequisites? Can you get an entry level role, if you're just starting out?
Yes, so that's what happened to me many decades ago. I came straight out of school and I started a job as a junior SAP consultant. And you can certainly find roles like this, but you start as a junior. It could be a junior accountant, or it could be a junior consultant, or it could be a junior purchaser, whatever role you want to pick. But yes, there's jobs out there.
Okay.
A lot of them, actually.
And hopefully this is softball for you, but how does one get started?
Yes, so in the old days, it was very difficult to get your hands on any kind of SAP training. Thankfully, now we're in an age where getting good SAP training is actually fairly easy. It starts on the lower end of the investment with books. There's hundreds of good SAP books available, all the way to online training that we do or that SAP offers. That gets pricey though. That's still not a very cheap thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and one of the things, and this is a quick plug for BIT, the program that we have is a partial scholarship, more or less, for folks who want to participate. So Michael Management has actually discounted the rate for BIT members to participate in the training platform. And in the members section of the website, you can find the specific details of the program and the cost. I believe is $300 for access to the platform right now, which is typically north of $1,000. So it's a great opportunity if you are ready to make that next step. But with respect to, the different job titles, I know we mentioned kind of the background you should have and, maybe some of the prerequisites that would be beneficial. What would my job title be? If I went through, am I like an SAP specialist? Am I, you mentioned a journal, a junior, an administrator or analyst? I guess what types of job titles should I be looking for if I'm just looking to research SAP careers?
Yeah, like I said, could touch any of the normal departments in an enterprise. So you could have a degree in accounting, for example, and you could be looking for accounting jobs. If you work at any of these big companies, you will do your accounting work with SAP software. So it might not actually say the word SAP in the title, so it could just be, we're looking for an accountant. Right, but then somewhere in the job ad you'll see, SAP experience preferred or required even.
So this is in a way to differentiate yourself, on your resume with an SAP credential for something that you already do more or less. So if you, like I said, you're in accounting, or if you're in supply chain, or if you're in IT, having the SAP credential or designation that you've, have a firm understanding, that could lend its way into one of those SAP jobs, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely, especially with these big companies, if they see in your resume that you even have basic SAP skills, they immediately realize, well, that's a person where we don't have to spend an extra 3 or 4 or 5 days to train that person on basic skills. So that's a big leg up. And it's easy to get these basic SAP skills under your belt. That's a 20, 30 hour investment in yourself.
And that 20 and 30 hours could translate into significant increases in pay, apparently.
Yeah, so we've done a salary snapshot in the SAP industry a few years back. And every job role that we looked at in SAP was north of $100,000. However, that was with a 5-year experience already. So you might not start out at $125,000, but the mean was, after 5 years, and they were all north of 110, 20, 40, depending on where in the country and depending on what job role. It's a very lucrative career.
So why don't more people know, or why is it such a secret? I just said people don't know. I personally didn't know until I started doing this research with you, but apparently there's a lot of opportunity in, when people think of, IT careers and specializations and, ways to navigate their career path. I rarely hear anybody mention SAP. You hear a lot about the cloud and cybersecurity and, all about Python and Java on the software engineering side, but nobody talks. Is it just because it's not sexy? I mean, finance and spreadsheets and report. Is that it? I mean, what do you think?
That's a really good question. I don't know if any of this is sexy, but it maybe it has something to do with SAP and this ERP system being the foundation, or the back end of everything. And all these other tools you mentioned, the cloud platforms, and all connectors to that back end. So maybe that's the reason why SAP in general is not as visible as any of the cloud offerings that you see everywhere. So that probably has a little bit to do with this. And I'll tell you a secret, when I finished college and I was looking for a job, and my cousin actually got me my very first SAP job, I didn't know what SAP was either. He just said, "Hey, do you want to be an SAP consultant?" I said, "All right, I'll do that." that was literally it.
So how long did it take you to get up to speed to the point where you felt that you were comfortable?
Yeah, so I mentioned that maybe to learn the basics of SAP is a 20, 30 hour investment. what you then typically do is you pick an area to specialize in. So for me, it was asset accounting. That's one tiny little sliver of the accounting system. That was going to be my specialty. Other people might specialize in warehouse management or inventory management or sales and distribution or whatever little area you want to pick. And then you start learning that area in depth. And that takes a lot more than 20 or 30 hours. So really learning SAP and being comfortable with it can take a year.
Gotcha. And
It's
the
very
demand,
complex.
yeah, the demand is high. So I guess just like anything that you pursue from a career standpoint, you have to, know your craft, know exactly what you're getting into and be able to communicate and articulate it and explain it if necessary. But you mentioned books and the software training platform. Are there any companies that have apprenticeship programs or any thing that someone who is newly minted with their SAP certification and they're ready to go, how can they, I guess, most effectively find work or find that next role?
Yeah, the important part, I think, is to look for that junior role. We see that a lot in the business where people, they look for the next role already. It's like, no, you're skipping a step. Look for that junior role first, right? So everybody wants to get ahead faster. I get it, but so that's the important part. Look for the junior role. All of these giant companies have apprenticeship programs like this. SAP itself has it too. And the other thing is, don't just focus on the companies that use SAP software. That obviously the biggest part of the job market. But my journey started on the consulting side. So I started working for a consulting company, and they had an apprenticeship program and taught me all the basics. So that's another way to go.
Very, very interesting. Okay, good stuff. So what I'm going to do now, because I want to make sure that we give our attendees a chance to ask some questions. So if anybody has a question, feel free to either raise your hand and we'll allow you to talk, or you can just drop your questions in the chat and I'll ask them on your behalf. Now is the official Q&A section. So looks like David has a question. What software language does SAP teach? Do you know?
Yeah, SAP was written in a software language called ABAP, ABAP, Advanced Business Application Programming, a proprietary software that SAP invented. It's very much like the old Pascal, if anybody still knows it or heard of it. So that's where it has its roots. It has been updated, of course, over the years many, many times, but the core is still ABAP. And you can still learn it, and they teach it, and we have courses on it.
Very interesting. I took computer science in the mid 90s. Yeah, Pascal was still a thing back then. Right. So I remember it. I don't know if anybody on this this meeting is going to remember.
I know, we're aging ourselves.
But okay, let's see. And what enterprise use for? So I think Thomas mentioned prior, but basically any foundational, enterprise resource like, operations or finance or human resources or supply chain, you name it. That's what SAP is used for. Did I get that right, Michael? Thomas, I did it again.
Yes, and also half of the government uses it. So the Navy uses it, the Department of Defense uses it. Half of the states and the cities in the US use SAP software. So it really is everywhere. It's amazing.
Anybody else have any questions? And I have a couple more. Okay. This may be no silly questions. Is SAP open source?
No, it's not. So it's their proprietary language. The interesting part about SAP software, though, it's not compiled. So you can actually look at the source code of the entire system when you log in, if you feel like it. You know, but it's not truly open source. It's all proprietary.
Michael has a question regarding SAP on the cloud. Any tips on running the app there, or is it only hosted by SAP?
Yeah, so the cloud is definitely something to focus on and keep watching. Historically, SAP systems were on-premise, right, where companies would install these systems on their own servers in their own data center, have them on-premise, have physical control of the server. Over the years now, there's a big push towards SAP cloud offerings. And cloud offering could be the private cloud. That means SAP creates these servers and hosts your system now on their servers in the cloud, or it could be the public cloud, which is SAP servers for everybody else to access systems to. SAP is pushing their cloud offerings a lot. So that's definitely where the whole train is going to go. We'll still have on-premise systems, of course, but little by little, more and more companies will move stuff to the cloud.
My area of focus and expertise, and I can tell you that anything that can be cloud will be cloud. And there's questions around security and data sovereignty and governance, but at the end of the day, once those issues are solved, or at least companies are comfortable with having their data reside in a place where they can physically touch it, there's a lot of goodness that comes with that, including cost savings and the fact that they don't have to manage hardware and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah. Any other questions? So I'll ask my next. With respect to our program, if someone signs up and wants to start their training tomorrow, how long does it take them to get started? And is there support for those folks once they get in, or is it independent study and training and they're kind of on their own?
Yeah, so the program, we have our normal annual subscription is $1,600, but for BIT members, we have it down to $299. So it's a great offer. It's for an entire year of unlimited training. There are no other fees, so there's no exam fees or certification fee. That's all included. So sorry, Dennis, what was the second part of the question?
Let's see. What was the second part of the question?
What was it? Like, how do people get started, right?
Yeah, there was any support.
Oh yes, yeah, the support part, exactly. Yes, so we have a whole customer service team. They're always available on the website. If you need to find a course or if you need help to get started. We also have learning path for common job roles that we already have pre-designed. So we know if you want to work as a IT analyst in SAP, here's the job path with all the courses, and it leads to that certification. So we've done that already, but you can always ask us for advice on what other course to take or start with.
And David's question was where to start. So I think we answered that, David, but just to recap, we are suggesting some SAP books to start some research, and then also the program that Thomas just mentioned is a great place to start for training. A year of training for $300. I don't know what the quick math is on that divided by 12, but it's not very expensive per month. Somebody wants to do the math, drop it in the chat. But basically, the way that we're looking at working with micromanagement in the platform is to get as many of the members who want to pursue a career, or at least add that SAP credential to their resume or LinkedIn profile as possible, because it does matter, and it's not easy. Nothing in tech or in life is easy. Nothing worth it is easy. So you're gonna have to work at it. Thank you for $25 a month. See, I knew it was something good. But if you work at it, you can see significant upside at the end of it. So I think that's the lesson I want to impart today. You know, if there's any takeaway, it's that if there's interest, we're, you know, proactively removing the barrier to entry for you to pursue that. So, all right. Any last questions?
Couldn't have said it better, Dennis.
All right. All right. Well, if there aren't any additional questions, I'm going to thank everyone for taking the time. This is great. We are excited to answer any additional questions that anyone might have. Feel free to email me, drop me a note. Oh, the link is actually in the member section of the Blacks in Technology website. I keep talking about it, but it would actually help if it was there. So, and you can sign up for Blacks in Technology as a member for free. It doesn't cost anything, just submit your information and join the local chapter. And we have a bunch of free resources and tools and support. And yeah, reach out to us. We want to see you as an active participant in the community, and we want to help you make more money. So
awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Dennis. Really appreciate it.
With that, thank you. I appreciate it, Thomas. I'm going to keep calling you Michael. See, you did it to yourself because you put Michael Management as the company, and your name is Thomas Michael. So
it's my fault.
But thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you again for all your support. And thanks everyone for taking some time. I appreciate you for joining us, and we'll see you at a future BIT event. Have a good one, everybody.
Pleasure. Goodbye.